Let's see. Hey, Facebook. My name is Stephanie Haines. I'm with TMJ4. I'm a reporter. I'm in a different corner of the Kenosha County Courthouse basement, just up in the hallway outside the media room, where everybody is kind of seated and just waiting around on official jury watch. Okay, so updates today. I went upstairs to the courtroom shortly before 9 o'clock, which is when we were told that the jury would come back this morning to resume their deliberations, and we waited up there for a while. Didn't see the judge come through, didn't see any of the attorneys there. And then about 9:25, the court reporter told us, oh, yeah, by the way, the jury is already deliberating. So they just didn't decide to call court into official session for that. The jury just went straight back to deliberations. Normally, when there's, an official on the record issue, or not issue, but just proceeding in court, they call court into session. The judge comes in, the attorneys come in, everybody comes in, and they, be seated and stand, wait for the jury to come in. Jury comes in, then they go back, but it kind of takes a little while. So I can understand why they decided to not do that today. So they were scheduled to come back at 9. I don't know if that's actually when they started deliberations. We can ask later on. Judge Schrader has a pretty full schedule for today of other cases on his docket. He's got a court proceeding at 10:30, and then a couple of deputies told me he's got proceedings from 10:30 to 3 today. So he has a lot of stuff going on in his courtroom, just besides keeping tabs on the jury, seeing how they're doing. So I'm going to pop back up there a couple times throughout the day just to hear what he has to say. Any little bits of information he has that he might be able to share. Otherwise, last night when we were waiting, he said that around 5 o'clock he would go check on the jury and how they were doing in deliberations. And so we were waiting up there, waiting and waiting. And he came out and played Jeopardy with people in the gallery. It was mostly media, because we were waiting to hear what he was going to say about the jury, if they were going to go home for the night or come back. And so he was playing Jeopardy for a little bit. And then he called the jury back in and he said, it's my understanding you want to go home for the night. They all nodded. They didn't seem particularly stressed, but they just seemed in agreement that, we're going home for the night, and we are going to come back in the morning. The only two things we heard from the jury throughout the day was, one, they asked for pages 1 through 6 of jury instructions. And there's 36 pages total, but at first, right away, they asked for pages 1 through 6. And so that was instructions on self-defense, provocation, duty to retreat, intent, and first-degree reckless homicide. And then they came back at 3 and asked for copies of the rest of the pages of instructions. So those were the only two things we heard from the jury all day. No telling how long they're going to be working today. We don't know. We just kind of have to wait and see, listen to the judge. Just we're waiting like everybody else is. Our legal analysts, our TMJ4 legal analysts, told us last night that their take on the jury asking for copies, meaning like every juror gets an individual copy of instructions, is they suggested that, when the jury picks a 4-person or 4-man, that 4-man often has the instructions to himself or herself. Not that they're not sharing them, but just, they have it in their hands. And so our legal analysts said that they expected that it's probably just that, we have some independent thinkers and they kind of want to see things for themselves. And so then they just asked for copies, because a lot of people were asking, why didn't everybody get a copy? And every courtroom's different. We don't know. that's just how it played out. The other thing that people were getting a kick out of yesterday was the Tumblr of picking alternates. So remember, they had 20 jurors seated for this trial, and 2 got dismissed. One was for making a joke about the police shooting at Jacob Blake, and the second one told the judge she's pregnant, wasn't feeling well. So there were 18 who listened to the trial in entirety. But then 6 alternates had to get picked. Those alternates have to be, by the way, back in the courthouse, but in a separate room than the jury's deliberations. So they get to sit in a room with the 6 of them, can't discuss the case. Guess they can just sit there and work or watch Netflix or, read a book, something to occupy their time, while in case they have to get called in, if something happened, with maybe there's a medical emergency or something happens with one of the jurors where they just have to get pulled in. But those 6 got picked from a Tumblr, which Judge Schrader came out and said, hey, I got a lot of media inquiries about this. We've been doing this method for 20 years where they put all the names of the jurors, the juror numbers in Tumblr, and the defendant, they spin it, and the defendant himself picks out the 6 alternates. People nationally said they've never seen that before. Oh my gosh, but the judge said they've been doing it for a long time. So outside, there's still some people here demonstrating, police keeping watch, but the rest of us are in here kind of just waiting to see anything, if we hear anything or get any word. The judge did say he'd probably give about an hour once a verdict is reached. Once he's alerted that there is a verdict, probably about an hour for court to get called back into session. Meaning, so that just gives people time, attorneys, the defendant, families, reporters, everybody to kind of get into place in the courtroom before they call the jury. And we don't know when that will be. He did say yesterday, he's like, well, I'm going to ask them at 5 if they want to stay late. Some juries do, some don't. But that's kind of the update we have for now, and we're really all just sitting and waiting. So I'll sign off for now, just to check in with you guys, and maybe later in the day, if we're still in this spot and we haven't heard from the jury, we can do another Facebook Live, just kind of talking about some key moments in the trial, kind of look at the charging documents and the jury instructions, and see if anybody has questions on that. But thanks so much.